Okay, it looks like we're
Yep,
just
I'm
about
ready
ready
to
to
get
get
started.
started. All right. Okay, yes, hi. Welcome everyone to our webinar tonight. This is the 6th webinar and final of Getting on the Right Track. What that means you'll see in the next hour. Next slide, please. So first of all, we want to give you a little bit about what's going on Zoom. This can be viewed on your computer because you can see the whole thing clearly. You can view on a laptop, but on iPad, iPhone, or any other device, it might be a little bit more difficult. If you need voice interpreting, turn your sound on. We do have voice interpreters available. We also have a captioner on the line as well. If you're struggling with the technology or tech support or anything like that, just type it out in the chat. We do have a couple of a couple of people behind the scenes rather, ready to help you when you need it. On Zoom, you should be able to see Mary Ellen and myself, top and bottom. And also our shared screen on the other side. There is a little divider between the two, between the divider and us. You can slide that back and forth to your preference if you prefer to see the presentation bigger, or if you prefer to see us bigger, it is your choice. Next slide. So if during today's discussion you have a question, you can always type it in the Q&A box down below. Yeah, just type in your question there. All questions will be held until the end of the webinar, and then we'll have some time at the end to answer those questions. If you have any technical issues, please again type those in the chat. And if you see a question that you like, that is a similar question you have, you can kind of give a thumbs up, right? That, and we'll be sure to put that at a higher priority. Next slide. So this webinar would not be possible without two organizations. We have CSD Learns, who is essentially able to host this event. And the funding has been provided by Wells Fargo Bank. So thank you very much. So you can see me. I forgot to introduce myself and also my cohort here. I'll let her introduce herself first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Ellen Graham. I live in Austin, Texas, and I work for the statewide outreach center with the Texas School for the Deaf. And I'm really excited to be a part of this webinar. As Todd had mentioned, this is our 6th webinar, and it's been an amazing learning experience thus far. I've really enjoyed working with you, Todd. It's been a lot of fun. I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. So yes, again, my name is Todd Boneo, and I live here in Maryland. I work at Gallaudet University as a teacher of math and information technology. I also want to emphasize that we have not been as, we're not financial experts. We've invited different experts to come in and join us, different teachers and advisors. So now for this webinar here, we have a special guest. I will introduce her in just a second. Before I do, I want to give a little bit of background here. So today's webinar's goals here for getting on the right track is that we are bringing in a financial advisor and using their perspective. We have their perspective, we have my perspective, we have their perspective, a teacher's perspective, audience perspective. We haven't really gotten a true financial advisor's perspective on this topic, so it should be interesting for today. We also wanted to talk about any misconceptions. We're discussing common misconceptions among adults seeking for financial advice. And also, thirdly, we want to identify the critical areas to be addressed in the K-12 setting as people go from college into the real world. So with that said, next slide. Yes, we have Ms. Kara Berry here from Edward Jones Investments. She is a former deaf education teacher, so I will let her go ahead and introduce herself.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you. Like Todd mentioned, my name is Kara Berry, and this is my sign name. I taught for 9 years at the Kansas School for the Deaf. I then transitioned to teaching in public school for 2 years, and then decided I was done with teaching and had a career change. I became a financial advisor. My second son was ready to be born, and I wanted a new career, and I was ready for a change to focus on my family, but at the same time, still be a financial provider for my family.
Awesome. Yeah. Wow. 10 years as a teacher, you can imagine that the time change would be extremely difficult after working and all this changing and developing these new strategy here. So financial advising here, you think we need, I think I need to change my major at this point, you know?
Hey, Todd, don't get any ideas.
So yeah, we'll go ahead and start the webinar now. Kara, thank you very much for joining us and giving us your words of wisdom to our audience. We're very excited to have you here. So I'll let Mary Ellen start.
All right, well, fantastic. Well, if you've joined our webinars in the past, you know that we always do polls. We do love polls, and we like to start with one. So here it is, time for a poll. All right, here's our first poll. And so the question says, what net worth should an individual have to justify the need for a financial advisor? 200,000 or higher, 100,000 or higher, 50,000 or higher. You really don't need a financial advisor, or you shouldn't consult with an advisor regardless of, or net worth. You should always consult with an advisor. So now I want to make sure that it is clear about these polls that what you've got, what you own, what's your investment, all of that could potentially be part of your net worth. So if you can look on the poll, and if everybody could please choose where you are, we'll give you. I wish I could vote. I really want to vote.
We won't give you a few minutes. We'll give you a few seconds.
We'll have to see what the answers will be from what I've heard from people in general in the community. So I'm looking forward to that.
You know, I actually used to think that only rich people saw a financial advisor. That's what I used to think. But I guess I was curious to see, I guess I'm now curious to see what our audience thinks.
I used to think that anybody that has all of these assets would do it, not just if you have a bank account. So yeah, I'm really curious what the answer to this is. Are we ready for some results?
All right, let's see it.
Okay. Well, I guess people are smarter than me. So a few people said 100,000 or higher, but most people said no matter what, you should consult with a financial advisor. Well, that's going to lead us to the next question. So, Kara, what are some common misconceptions that you've noticed that people have about a financial advisor? Sure, this is Kara. So I've noticed that there are lots of different things. You know, who should go to, where do you invest? What do you do after college? When you start a job, should you go visit a financial advisor? When you change a career, when should I actually start? So in actuality, you can start at any moment. So if you want to learn about how to proceed with your wealth, how to start after you start your career, to get ready to start your investment for your retirement, it doesn't matter. It's really up to you. Some people wait until they get money from their parents' estate, maybe from a death. Or if they're lucky, they win the lottery. Those lucky people. But really, so that is really one of the biggest misconceptions is you should really get started with a financial advisor before you actually have money to invest. Another misconception that many people often have is they think that we focus only on retirement and that's it. That's the goal. We actually offer a lot of options, which could lead to another question later, but I'm going to hold off on that question right now. Yeah, that's a problem with Todd and I have. We want to ask all these questions and we forget, wait, we have to go in a process. We have an order.
Yes, I actually had one misconception myself. It's almost like until I see a financial advisor, one thing I learned is the cost. Is there a cost of having a financial advisor? Because I would think that that would cost $100 per visit or something like that, and that's what kind of made me stay away. So can you explain a little bit more about that?
Come on, Todd. Todd, you can visit me. You could give me $1 million to visit me. I'd be happy to have you give me that to visit me.
Ooh-wee.
No, but in actuality, to sit down and to have a discussion, tell me what your situation is, what your goals are, and to start your plan, there is no cost for that kind of consultation. Other companies, there may be a cost. So do make sure that you're clear before you get started with a specific financial advisor. For me to sit down and have a consultation, it's free. Once you decide that you will, well, actually, I'll clarify about when do you owe money and what the costs are. So if you decide to start an account, we'll tell you exactly what the cost and the percentage in dollars overall for that account. So you're not unsure. Some people are kind of funny. They're interested. They come to visit me and they're like, so when do I mail you a check? And when do I get a bill? And it doesn't work that way. So meeting with me has no cost. This is Mary Ellen. I know through our conversations, I've noticed I'm the kind of person that leaves a meeting and is like, wait a minute, I've got some follow-up questions. So if we leave a meeting and I've got follow-up questions, there's still no cost until we actually start investing. This is Kara. I'm not like a lawyer. I don't charge an hourly fee. Many people will sit down with a financial advisor, go into some deep details and realize, you know what, it's not for me yet. I'm not ready. And I'll be honest with them and say, you know, you should hold off. And once you've met certain goals, then we'll all get together again and we can ask questions and go forward at that point. But again, if you have a need, I'm able to support that need and we can get started. Awesome.
Wow, that's very good to know. I also wanted to emphasize why we asked that question. It's because actually adults, whether we're teachers, we're counselors who work with kids, we often have misconceptions with regards to financial advising. We're not sure if we understand the significance of that and what your role is. So we can't really encourage or advise our students if we don't understand the position. So that's why I wanted to talk about this with you. So I'm hoping people who are watching this can actually pass this information along to our next generation, so that they don't make the same mistake like I did. But I was being afraid to see a financial advisor until much later.
Are we ready to move on to the next question?
Yes, of course. We actually have another poll. So now it's going to be a little bit different. It's more of a you type your own answer. So the question is, what services can a financial advisor provide? And please, what's on your own mind, type your responses in the chat box. So what services can a financial advisor provide? Feel free to type it. We'll see what kind of responses we get. I'll wait and see if anyone can do that. Okay, we have one that's saying forming a portfolio, how to earn and repair credits, planning for retirement. Okay, we'll wait for a few more responses here. Loans, making sure for IRAs, diversifying your portfolio. Okay, so which could lead to our second question. So if you can switch to the next slide. Okay. All right. So now, Kara, maybe you can kind of clarify this detail right here. What are the most common areas do you notice that clients come to you for?
So typically it starts with budgeting. And the reason for that is because I want to make sure that your everyday needs are met. Once we get from there, we can talk a little bit more about your goals, emergency funds. If you're saving for a house, we can talk about that. Retirement. If you have children, planning for college. My potential services are endless. So often, yes, we do talk a lot about retirement, but you have to realize that retirement can't be achieved unless you're prepared with everything else before that. So everything that everybody put in the chat is all right on target. I do all of those things. Some people show up, they have a lot of credit card debt, and we have to repair that credit card debt, and at the same time plan for other goals that they might have. Other people need to focus on just one thing. The cool thing is that everybody has their own special, unique differences in what they're doing.
Okay, and if you can share, I guess, the age of the people that come to you, does it go more towards older, more towards younger, middle age? What do you think?
It's where I love, I love to do it where we started, because, I finished college, I graduated from college. My friends are like, hey, Kara, what should I do? I'm like, what? So I kind of followed a financial advisor with Edward Jones when I graduated college, and they were an advisor. So I was like, okay, fine. So I started investing at that point. I was really shocked. I was 21, and I'm fortunate and I'm in a good position now because I started then. And then this is the same person that then encouraged me to become a financial advisor. And then I'm trying to help younger people get started early. As people near retirement, I do tend to get a lot of people that are sitting down to make sure that they're ready to retire. They don't want to, decide to retire and then realize, okay, I don't have any money and now I'm 70 and I can't go back to work. It's, you want to start talking about this at least 5 years before you retire. That would be the best bet if you haven't done anything before. So that way, and you're ready in 5 years to retire. And you want to have those clear goals for retirement. I tell all of my clients, I'm not trying to help you retire. That's not my goal. I'm helping you live successfully through your retirement. Because, anybody could retire tomorrow if they wanted to, but then what's going to happen in the next year and when all the money is run out? So my goal is to make sure that my clients succeed and can live through their retirement. And one thing that you can't replace, teachers are the same thing about language development with deaf students. So, we can't replace time. So language access starting at age 2 or access at age 5, that access that you didn't have before age 2 or before age 5, you can't get it back. Well, that's the same thing with retirement planning and investment. If you don't start early, I can't replace that time to put money away. If you wait until later, then you're going to have to work harder to get that money for retirement. This is Mary Ellen. Okay, so I'm curious. You were talking about starting young with retirement. Obviously, the earlier, the better. So a good time to start, or maybe it's too late. Is 18 too late, or is that a good time to start? Should you do earlier? You could start today. It doesn't matter what your age is. I mean, really, for my kids, I would start as soon as they have a job, because they have opportunities to then teach them about these services. But of course, that's my personal perspective as a financial advisor for my children. But at the same time, once you get your first job, I mean, many people have already experienced a job. They're like, they graduate college and it's like, oh, look at that. This is my paycheck. Oh my gosh, I'm rich. And then they start to buy things and they want to buy a house and this and that. And it's like, now these kids are in trouble because they can't afford anything. And they look and think they're rich, but then they realize later they can't afford it. So the earlier they start, the better. It's more beneficial for you. You get used to that. So as you start at age 21, and then by the time you're in, I had my first child, I was 32 when I had my first child. I was already in the habit of putting money aside every month from my paycheck for bills as well as retirement. Todd.
Okay, so as a financial advisor, do you see a lot of young people like 18, 19 who got their first job, or do you feel that that's more rare than most?
No, that's actually very rare. Most people that show up are in their 30s and they haven't even started with retirement, or they're just ready to start, or maybe they have a 401k from their job. So they have a little bit coming in from that, but it's not actually enough, at least not always. That's why I would like to kind of change the mindset of people to start when they're young. But at the same time, it's never too late. It's better to start now and do that. No, 30 is not too late. 30 is the typical age. But at the same time, remember, if you work harder, your money will work harder too.
Oh, good to know.
I think that's perfect what you mentioned about starting young. I think that's a good segue to our next question, if that's okay with both of you to move forward.
Yeah, go for it.
So let's go to the next slide. All right, here we go. Did you know? I learned this. And so thank you for teaching me about this, Kara, but there are different types of certifications and licensures for different types of services of financial advisors. So always check, and Kara had mentioned to always double check what somebody's credentials are before utilizing their services. So can you explain a little more about what you mean by their credentials and licensure? This is Kara. It's same as a teacher. You can specialize in English or math for high school, of course, or middle school. People have an insurance license. They can sell life insurance. Other financial advisors might be able to sell mutual funds. Other people can sell stocks. So we are required to take different licenses. We have to study to do all of that. We have to take a test and pass it, and oh, it was awful. But with that, then you have the ability to sell different types of products. So my caution to you all is to, when you go into an office, understand clearly what that person is able to sell. It's not wrong if they only sell life insurance, but you need to think, if they're trying to pressure you into life insurance, that you must have this life insurance and you must have this amount of life insurance, is it because it's for your best interest, or is it because that's the way they get their commission? So those are the same types of things for each of the individual licensures. So finding a financial advisor that can sell everything in all different portfolio of items might have a more broad perspective of your overall financial health to help you with achieving your goal instead of being siloed into one area than another. Because that might not be what's in your best interest, but it's what's in their best interest.
So how can we know if that person has a lot of licenses or not? I mean, are we able to ask if they have this and that license, or is there like a website we can go to or some other
A
resource that
registry,
has that?
maybe a registry. This is Kara. So yeah, you can, there's something called a broker check. So the broker check will tell you a couple of things. It'll tell you which tests a particular broker has taken. It will also caution you if that person had anything that was filed against them, and it would caution you against any complaints that may have been filed by them. You can also ask somebody, what kind of services do they provide? What do they sell? So for example, all of the Edward Jones advisors, we are required to take a series, which is called the Series 7, the Series 66, and Life and Health. So I've taken and passed all of those. That means I can sell basically any product that's out there. It doesn't matter what the product is. And whatever your needs are, I'm able to handle those. There are some companies that sell their own products. Other companies don't have their own products. They are merely a broker, just like insurance. There are some companies that will sell you their car insurance, other companies that are insurance brokers that they will look and find where's the best insurance for you and find the best one and then sell you that. So here at Edward Jones, we don't offer our own products. We are a broker. We are a brokerage house of services of others people's products. So ask, that's the way you know.
Okay, I think it's time for our next question. We're already at the halfway point, and wow, that's pretty fast.
So as a professional, what do you think teachers and schools should do to ensure that their students are financially prepared? This is Kara. I feel as though kids need to have an authentic learning experience, because financial advisors are not just focused on one thing. There's different areas, different impacts. For example, we need to talk about credit cards. I just heard a story about a girl who I taught when she was in kindergarten. She will be graduating this year. And her mother just told me that she just became 18 and she got a letter in the mail to get a credit card. Her daughter's like, hey, Mom, look, I got $2,000. Her mother was like, what? No. That's not money that you can spend. That's money that you can borrow. This girl didn't get it. She was clueless. So, kids aren't ready for that. They need to talk to adults. They need to ask those questions. We need to expose them to credit cards. They need to know about budgeting. They need to learn about investing in general, even if it's just superficially. They need to learn about investing. They need to be prepared for the future. Buying a house, debt to buying a house sounds like a great idea, but if you see a house for sale and maybe it's $100,000, but what about all the other expenses that go with that $100,000 purchase? PMI, if you don't have enough money to put 20% down, you'll have to increase your payments by private mortgage insurance. You'll have to buy insurance for the house. You need to make sure that you understand about health insurance, car insurance. When you buy a car, it's not just buying a car. There's lots of different things regarding car insurance. And then there's taxes. Kids see what they earn on a paycheck and they're like, oh yeah, this is nice. Look at this, I'm getting a job. I said, you realize you have to pay tax from that. You're not getting all of that money. Social Security, all of those other things are taken out of that. You have to understand that there are so many different topics for teachers, and I get that, but you need to be able to provide those resources, not in depth, but at least superficially, so they can have a working conversation about, you go into a classroom, you talk about, hey, I'm earning this money, but then from this, they're going to take away taxes, they're going to take away this, they're going to take away this. And then you need to put money aside for an emergency fund, just to prepare kids for what real life is going to be. Teachers have to be more open and more willing to share that stuff. Many of our students aren't learning that from home. Hearing, deaf, it doesn't matter. Public schools, deaf schools, it doesn't matter. We are very limited, but we need to be more willing to teach those direct skills to our students. Things that they need to know before they get out into the real world. This is Mary Ellen. One thing that I'm curious about, we've talked with different teachers who work for different schools. Some of them say that their schools do include, or at least they try to include and talk about finances. From your perspective, how important do you think it is to make personal finance an actual class that students are required to take and that they can take in school? I think that all schools should be doing it. It should be a high priority to have that. What's the goal of having a good paying job for our students if they don't know what they're going to do with the money? So they need to be able to take care of that. So I think I think that's the priority. I think it's more important to figure out that budget planning and understanding credit cards compared to many of the other things they're learning. No, I mean, okay, I get it. They need to learn how to eat. They need to learn how to cook. But at the same time, what's the point of getting them to the position of being able to have a job if they don't know what to do with that money once they get it? And they're just still dependent on other people.
And now I think we're at the time of our lives where the costs, because the costs are increasing, the cost for college is crazy. Housing right now is at a record high, and everything is just inflation is causing everything to go up. So it's really one thing to be further behind financially wise if you don't understand what you're doing. But I think also one thing that Kara mentioned is that there's a lot of schools who don't have a class or don't have the time to teach. And sometimes teaching might be at the bare minimum and students could forget so easily because they have so many other things to study and learn through the course. So what can we as teachers do? I mean, should we encourage students to see a financial advisor? Do you think that would help? This is Kara. So yeah, through my experiences teaching at KSD, giving lectures, giving a short and sweet lecture, they did a good job in preparation, but honestly, I really feel that teachers should be direct. And I mean, if nothing else, they need to teach directly about credit cards. And that's that really should be our priority there, because kids really they don't use actual cash like paper bills. They don't use that anymore. So when they work and they're getting paid in cash, and actually having that physical bill in their hands, Now do they want to buy, if they want to buy something but they really want to try and save it, and they're thinking, I worked so hard for this money and I don't want to just spend it, but now it's completely different. You mean you work, you got the money shows up magically in your bank account, and it's just there like magic. And then you're thinking, oh, I'll just have my credit card, and I can just charge. I can still use my credit card, and I just charge like everything else. And there's no like physical connection with work and earning money and spending money like that anymore. So uh, there's so really on the upper levels, teachers really should have the responsibility to change um, the magic into something actually tangible, like a paper bill. Like for like if I'm buying something, it's the same thing as using a credit card. Um, you're thinking, oh, you're going to pay $100 for this. That's fine. I can charge it, which is fine. And then you don't pay off the card. That because that's what it all looks like. You're not paying $100 for it. You're really paying 105, and then 110, and it just keeps increasing in that way. Even though you paid the minimum, even though you're paying the minimum payment, you do need to pay it off. Period. And before college showed up, I kind of just looked at all the look at all these different T-shirts, thinking to myself, I wanted everything now. But obviously, I changed the law. So if I went to college and I went to a college campus and I set up a table and saying, hey, on the front of my T-shirt it says, exchange your free shirt for a credit card, and on the back it said, I really want to say, don't get the credit card. I'll give you the T-shirt. To kind of, I guess, take off your balance or something like that. But I remember it's like when you were similar, you're my age. I started college. I went to all these different tables, got all these credit cards exchanged for a free shirt, just getting all these free shirt and kind of write that. But now that's forbidden. It's obviously it's not happening anymore. But still, I mean, it shows up in the mail, right? It's tempting. So if we don't teach our kids directly, if you get a job, you get paid, and you use a credit card, and you don't pay it off, that means, what are you really paying for it? That's the big question. And the next level would be, instead of buying this item for $100, suppose if you invest it. So now instead of going negative 20%, what if you could earn, even if it's just 3%? I mean, you're still earning more. You're ahead of the game. If anything, we need to just be direct and be clear, as especially also for the interest rate, how that can impact, whether positive or negative, in both ways. So you decide. This is Todd. It's very interesting what you say about credit cards, because you see all these credit cards. They have these negative. They're also negative. It's always be careful. At the same time, you want to buy a car. If you want to buy a house, you have to have a credit score. So it's all based on how you get it from your credit card. So it's almost like you have to encourage students to have a credit card, but be aware of how to use it. So it's very interesting. This is Kara. Yes, I always use my own personal experience in those examples. So me, uh, I went from to a Furniture Mart, using my getting a credit card from Furniture Mart, because at the same time it was a 0% interest rate for a year. So obviously at that point I didn't care. I just borrowed your money for 24 months, and I paid it off in 23 months, right? As long as that would be, I'd do that every time, because I know my bank account can cover this. And if my bank account can't cover it, then it wouldn't be worth it to me. So I use my card in the easiest way. I will not go into a store every time I need gas or something like that. I wouldn't do that. I mean, I have kids, so I would go through my bills and change all that. I really don't want that. So yes, Todd, you are right. It would be easier, and at the same time, it would really help build a positive credit score as well. So yes, but at the same time, we need to teach them that the game is like the whole thing is a game, and you can win if you use your tools well.
Right, right. This is Mary Ellen. I agree.
Yeah, this is Todd. That's good advice. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the last question. It's not really a question, but really it's more of a yeah, you'll see it right here. So we are fortunate to have you here, Kara. So what are 5 tips or pieces of advice that you'd like to offer our viewers? Kara here. Yes, I know this is important news, so I really wanted to think about this. So I want to make sure I get this right on the money here. So yeah, it's very tempting for that. So really, teachers just need to get it. And it's, I mean, I'm sure the audience here is an intelligent group of people. Thank you for everything you do. So you know that it's all a hands-on experience. You need that hands-on experience. It's a must. That's number one. Number two, I think it's good to have a good resource center. So wherever you can partner with a local advisor, if you're an advisor yourself, or Wells Fargo or CSD Learns, wherever the resources are, really you have to make sure that every year you be careful and that those resources are still appropriate, because the law changes all the time. So if you're teaching about, if you taught about Roth several years ago, you might be limited to $5,000. Maybe the limit may be increased to another amount. So kids don't have to have an exact right number, but we do need to understand that the laws change all the time. So that's number two. Have your resource center there. Number three, partner with an advisor. No, partner with a professional. I mean, we're all professionals here. And the reason being is, I myself as an advisor, I have a specific focus role. So if you partner with that person at the same time, another professional for taxes, and at the same time, you partner with another person who's a banker. You partner with all those for maybe partner with the banker for a savings account or a checking account or things like that. So if you have the group of professionals and you're providing the students not only with the resources, but also with a different person who can offer you that set of skills you can partner with that can help you later on down the road. You're not obviously not going to be expecting the students to know everything right off the bat. I mean, I myself pay a CPA for my taxes. I mean, I don't do my own taxes myself. So if I'm just out of high school and I would not know where to go, where would I find that type of person and how would I partner with that? So there's that. So there's professionals right there. Make sure you have the professionals there. So that's number three. Number four is understand that we emphasize to students, not every person is the same. I mean, you can't compare apples to apples. What this person did, it might be different than what that person did. I mean, in my office, it's all completely different plan. I mean, they might have different backgrounds, they might have different places where they are now, different goals where they're going for the future. It's always going to be different. So comparing my financial plan, similar to an IEP, is completely different. It's an individualized education plan. That, yeah, exactly. That's the teacher side here. It's going to be completely different. So, but they're not exactly the same. So you want to make sure that students realize that some of us will get support from parents that won't get support from their parents. So that's number four. And last one, number five, is money can be used as a tool. So if you use money as a tool, the kids will be more successful than if they don't have respect for their money. This is
That's
Todd.
good.
Wow, that's really good advice. Yeah, if you have any, if there's something good to learn, something like that, it kind of also reminds me of that. Thank you. Um, yeah, and I know that that's a lot to think about as a teacher, how we can offer our students and figure out what the students need and work with them for the future. It's tough, but it's the little things that we can do to communicate with the students that will help the students be more successful. So really, I'm glad that you just took that time to explain it right now. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the Q&A. I see that we do have several questions here from our audience. So I will let Mary Ellen start.
Okay. So thank you for asking this question that you've got here. Somebody's asked, how does one become a financial planner? Like yourself, what did you do?
Yes, so, this is Kara here. So I invested with an advisor. So that advisor actually convinced me to change my careers. So if you are really interested, please contact me. I can give you that one-on-one support. But really, you have to be supportive. You have to get support from a company. Uh, don't do it yourself and test the waters on your own. Before, when I wanted to be a principal, I actually took an exam on my own. It was completely different for this. So you really have to have that sponsorship from a company, and not suggesting a requisite.
Interesting.
So, right. So in turn, you can take that exam, and then from there, you can have that support. I think I studied, I think, for about 3 months. And then from there, I was able to pass all my exams. But I still didn't get a certification. As soon as I pass one, then I have to do more in-depth training on how to work with the product knowledge and different other things like that. So once the 5 weeks of training in depth were complete, then that's when I was considered a financial advisor.
So you have to basically interview to get a job, and then they say, okay, we'll accept you, but go get the training. Is that kind of how it works?
Yes, yes. So I applied. I think it was in November, starting in November. That was back in 2016. And then things progressed. And then in January, I was offered a job. So I put that on hold until I finished the school year. And then I actually had my second child there. So through that time until September, I started studying. And then I couldn't serve the people until March of 2018. So from November 2016, passing all my courses, doing all the training until March. So to start, you have to be hired by the company first. So yeah, but going seriously in depth like that, that was right there. So really, your degree or your education, you have to have a degree first of all, but it doesn't have to be a degree in finance or business or anything like that. It can be different.
Interesting. So that leads us to the second question. You mentioned a little bit about why you made the decision to transition from being a teacher to a financial advisor. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, yes. I wanted to become a principal, but I started realizing it would take a lot more of my time, and I wanted to stay at home more with my boys, and be that mom. So it really this job is easier in no way, but I knew it'd be more flexible. And I realized that I was teaching fifth grade, and my boys, they were at the time they were maybe 3 years old at the time. So I wanted to go to his party, but I couldn't. I was stuck at work. And even if I become a principal, how would I be able to get out and do that? Because I didn't want him to come to my school, so I couldn't go to his party, and I couldn't be involved in this, that, and the other thing. So
Yeah, that makes
uh,
sense.
yeah, that's when I decided that and I found out that when I found out my license would expire, I could. So it worked out perfectly.
That makes sense. All right, so next question. There are several financial board games out there from different companies. Is there any particular one that you recommend, whether it's Monopoly, Cash Flow? What do you recommend for kids, families, schools in order to play to learn about this financial services?
Really, I enjoy games in general. That's kind of the message right there. Monopoly and all of that, yes, but we can't beat direct lessons. There really is no alternative to that. So yeah, games are there for enjoyment, but having jars, one for spending, one for saving, one for giving, or whatever. So really, uh, for the participation of entertainment for your family, that's fine. But again, for this, I want to emphasize direct education only, so that the students actually get it. Of course, play the games for your to smile and have fun, but it's still academic for all of them, or uh, again, just have that direct thing. Hey, you do this, this will happen. So yes, again, take the time to enjoy yourself, but be careful.
True. Yeah, that's really a good point. All right, our fourth question. Let me look at it. Says that it's important for somebody to find a financial advisor that lives in the same area, same state, so they can know the laws of each state, or is the laws standardized throughout the United States? Does it matter geographically?
The laws are federal. They are federal, nationwide laws. So an advisor can become licensed in different states. For me, for myself, it's just that one button right there on the computer. So it's very fast. At the same time, a different state's license is different because sometimes states' laws might be different. They might have their own individual license for insurance purposes. But for general investments, the state specified does not matter, especially with COVID nowadays. Everything's done virtually on Zoom, so everything is just here, there, and everywhere. So it does not have to be a local financial advisor, but again, it depends on your comfort zone. And also, so often, emphasizing with the deaf community, please, please, I encourage you to get that direct communication, be to have that direct communication, because so often I want to emphasize to other advisors, but hey, you have the same type of communication with your clients, hearing to hearing, but then again, you have hearing to deaf, and that might be a problem. And they say, "Oh, I have this sister's friend's interpreter," and they're going through that route, or they're saying, or I know that for saying I require an hour for my appointment, but how do you go through this, that, and the other? How do you go through all that in an hour? I mean, are you able really to go in depth like that? So far too often, clients are transferred over to me, and they become more comfortable in that way, going more in depth. So I'm not. Yeah, make sure that whoever you feel comfortable with, and make sure whoever you go with, you're more comfortable with. Because so far often I see students going in. I don't tell the people what they should do. I am essentially educating and partnering with them so that they can make that decision and have that buy-in to what they're doing.
That's great advice. That's great advice. All right, we have one final question. The question is asking whether it would be best for the students to get an experience, a tangible experience, by having a credit card that's got limited amount that the parents set up, like an ATM card, so they have a little bit of experience, so they know what it's like. And how would that work regarding, paying bills, keeping track of bills? Does that work? Do you think it should be limited for them?
That is a very good question and a very good idea. So whatever happens with that credit card, that has a link to whoever's name is on that card. That's who it would impact. So oftentimes, yes, parents can do that, but they realize that their child is responsible. It's the same thing as getting a student loan, all of that. So yes, if parents want to do that, that will help support the parent's credit score. And also the student's responsibility. At the same time, making sure they know what responsibility is as parents.
All right, that's good advice. All right, well, we are drawing towards the end of our time here, and time is running out. I want to thank you, Kara, and for everybody else. If people are curious and have more questions that they'd like to reach out to you about, is there a way that people can contact you?
Absolutely.
Are you able to put an email into the chat for the audience so they can reach out to you? Do you have contact information?
Yeah, for sure. No problem. I will do that.
All right, fantastic. Well, we can't thank you enough, Kara, for joining us. Your words of wisdom, your advice really made all of us feel better as teachers and gave us things to think about what we can do. Again, I want to remind the teachers out there, encourage your students to see a financial advisor right after they graduate and they get their first job, whether they're going to college or not. Make sure they see a financial advisor. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, you can turn your video off. Thank you, Kara. So should we wrap up? Yes, I'm still thinking, no, wait, I got to get back to focus on what we're doing. So as always, we have additional resources that we want to remind everybody about. This is our education for personal finance for young adults through Wells Fargo. You can see some examples there about dealing with debt and how to deal with debt. And you can look into this for wonderful information. And then there's the hands-on banking, and you can see some of the information there. I've looked at this information. It's a phenomenal resource. Please double check this one out. And then once again, as Todd mentioned in the beginning, we want to thank our sponsor, Wells Fargo. Without Wells Fargo, these webinars would never have been possible, nor would we have had the opportunity for CSD Learns to partner with all of these wonderful people that have given us these phenomenal webinars the last 6 months. So I want to thank you all and thank the audience for being a part of this.
Yes, I also wanted to say a few words from CSD Learns.
Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Kluza, and I am the Marketing Director for CSD Learns. And I wanted to just jump in here briefly to say thank you, as Todd and Mary Ellen mentioned, for the Wells Fargo Foundation for their continued support and helping us with these webinar series. I also want to thank them for supporting us to make these toolkits that are available for teachers that you saw on the previous slide. We have 2 more that we're making, one regarding credit and the other regarding fraud. They should be rolled out in the next month. I want to take this time to thank Mary Ellen and Todd for your continued support and engagement over these last 6 months for this series. Thank you so much for being our hosts and interacting with our panelists. So thank you for being here. I also want to thank the interpreters for interpreting this evening. As mentioned, we are sending out an email after this webinar, potentially tomorrow. It will have a survey. We'd like you to please fill out this survey and let us know how we can improve for future events and webinars that we do sponsor. If you'd like to learn more about our resources, we have lots of resources to give regarding financial education as well as STEM education. Please look at our website, csdlearns.com. Also, you can follow us on our social media channels listed here: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. That's it. This webinar series is over, and I want to thank you all.
Yes, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and I hope you have a great night.